the stereo is on and connected to the phone. If I shut the car off and restart, it'll restart the connection to the phone, interrupting my music. Or will it? Aha! See what happens if I turn off ignition. Take the key out. Stays on for a short while, but that's reasonable. Alright.
Okay, to keep the stereo on, you have to provide the ignition accessory wire with some voltage. This usually happens through the ignition switch, but when you are in engine start, crank mode, starting the car, it turns off the accessory power so that more goes to the starter. If you want to bypass this feature, you have to figure out some way to maintain some power to the stereo. The good news is that the accessory wire on the stereo doesn't consume much power at all. It's just a turn-on signal. So we don't need a whole lot of juice. For this modification, I used a 2200 microfarad 16-volt capacitor that I salvaged from a old PC power supply. Has to be at least 16 volt because we're dealing with 14 or so. I also added a diode. Not 100% sure this is necessary, but it's a good idea so that the power doesn't backfeed from the capacitor into the rest of the system. First step is cutting the accessory wire that goes to the stereo. It's small and red. Then wire everything up according to this diagram. First connect the accessory wire on the car side to the non-stripy end of the diode. Then connect the stripy side of the diode and the positive leg of the capacitor, that's the one without the negative sign, to the accessory wire on the stereo. Then connect from the negative side of the capacitor to a good ground. Be sure to tape everything up so that you don't short things out. What this accomplishes is under normal operation, power flows through the diode, charging the capacitor. When the ignition switch is shut off, the residual voltage in the capacitor can't flow backwards to the rest of the power system, but it can continue to keep the accessory wire in the turned on state. So the stereo stays on, at least until the capacitor is out of juice. With the 2200 microfarad capacitor, you should have plenty of runtime to keep the stereo on while you're cranking the engine to start. But when you turn the key off, the stereo will keep functioning for a little while and then shut off like normal. Hope this helps and you can enjoy the ability to shut your car off and restart without interrupting your music.
Ciao.